Welcome to the Adult Algorithm Podcast, the How to Adult podcast.
First of all, if you don't have a planner, get one. I don't know
This
how
ain't
you
high school.
I don't know how you survive.
There will be no sugarcoating whatsoever.
This is the hashtag No Sugarcoating podcast.
And I'm your host, Jasmine Johnson.
You're like the best influence and the worst influence all in one.
Are you ready to grow into your potential? What is up, everyone? Welcome back to the Adult Algorithm How to Adult podcast with your host, Jasmine Johnson. If I have to record this intro one more time, I might scream my head off. That would not be a good idea because it's nighttime. Anyways, hi, welcome to episode 29. I'm so excited you could be here. If you are watching on the YouTube version, I'm very sorry you were just looking at a title slide and not my amazing expressions that I always love to show. But not feeling my best self. That is a-okay. We are working on our confidence. Just a little speed bump in the road. We are growing though. So, hi, if you are new here, my name is Jasmine. This is the Adult Algorithm. Get ready, get your notebook out because we are teaching you everything that our schools basically did not teach us that we should have known, to succeed in adulthood. Anyways, we are in our no sugarcoating month, and this is the last episode of it. I can't believe it is almost June. It's absolutely crazy, and it's almost episode 30 as well. And we've had some amazing podcast guests. We uploaded episode 28 as well this week. A double upload. No biggie. Literally no biggie. And it's been amazing, and our guests have been amazing, like I said, and today is, no exception. I invited a fellow podcast host on our show today. I was able to record with her for her podcast as well, and both times were an absolute blast. And today we are welcoming on Kristin, who is the host of the podcast Where Have All the Cowboys Gone, which centers around navigating single life as a woman in her 30s, and she also works full-time in marketing and spends her time boxing, cheering on Boston sports teams, of course, and binging too much TV. We love to see it. Kristin, you are absolutely amazing. I'm so happy to have her on. And we are also, for this week's small platform highlight of the week, we are going to be highlighting her podcast, Where Have All the Cowboys Gone, which we talk a little bit about in the beginning of our interview. So I'm so excited for you all to be able to hear our interview and to get a new podcast on your list. So please go check it out. That is our small platform of the week. You need to listen to it. It is awesome. I mean, y'all, are we kidding? And it's funny because she brings on so many, and we talk about it too in the interview, but she brings on so many different guests with so many different perspectives and just about, single life in your 30s, and it's not something that you think about so often because as people our age, we think that we're gonna have everything figured out and we're gonna have a family and 10 kids by 30, but it doesn't always work out like that. And her podcast really puts that in perspective, and it's amazing. And I should probably stop ranting about it because we're gonna be talking about it in 2 seconds. So let's get right into the episode.
Hi, I'm Kristin. I am the host of Where Have All the Cowboys Gone podcast. I was so lucky to have Jasmine on as a guest that will be coming out soon, and she invited me on hers, which I am so pumped about. Some background about me is I work in marketing communications, specifically in higher ed at a university, and I'm housed in career services. So I work a lot with students that are probably the age demographic for this podcast about what life looks like after college and try to make it sound fun and interesting and cool. So that's a little about me.
Yes. So basically, this is not the only time Kristin will be on our podcast. Well, thank you so much for coming on. I'm so excited. Our recording for your podcast was so fun, and I had literally the best time ever.
Oh, yay.
Yes. And I think everyone's just going to run to your podcast after hearing all your advice and everything, because I know I did right after. So it's going to be so fun. Thank you so much for coming on. And you are the host, and you started over quarantine just like I did, right?
Mm-hmm.
And how did you start it, and why did you even want to do it on, well, nobody knows what it's even about. So go ahead and explain what your podcast is about, how you started it, and all that fun stuff.
Thanks. Yeah. So Where Have All the Cowboys Gone podcast is a podcast that's really centered around what single life is like for people in their 30s. So being in my 30s myself and being single, I noticed like when I got out of my 20s, first I came out of a really long relationship and found myself single, that a lot of people had a lot of opinions about that. And it was almost like this shift of like, okay, by 30, you should be set in your career. You should have a partner. You should start thinking about marriage and children and all the things that society says that you should be thinking about and doing. And at 30 years old, I was not in a position to even consider all those things. I was more focused on my career, which we find that most women today are. They're getting married later in life. They're having children later in life because they're really focused on their professional life. And so I just saw this magnified so much. And I think today, especially with women, the magnifying glass is so large and so much on us. And I wanted to create a platform where we could, all types of women, not just like the Jennifer Anistons and the Taylor Swifts of the world that, you know, are the perpetual single women that kind of also get, you know, slandered a bit for being single, but also they're cool. But I wanted regular women to have a platform to tell their stories and share their experiences. And from that, it just really grew. You know, over the past couple of years, I've met a lot of women that were single and had similar experiences and the same stories and talking about going on dates and dating apps. So to be able to elevate that has been really fun. I will say I've only had a couple of men come on and dabble in the conversation, you know, don't really want to be super vulnerable. But overall, everyone has a different story, a different perspective, experiences. So it's been really fun to see that play out over the last almost year now.
Yes, I love it. And you want to talk about the hashtag no sugarcoating. Your podcast is all about that, especially your episode, It's Getting Dark in Here. First of all, your friend, is it Kate? Right?
Yeah.
She is wild. Like, I was like, wow, this girl is no sugarcoating. She is harsh, straight to the point. And that's what I feel like all my friends are like very similar. So I was like, wow, that is legit. She's legit. And you guys, like your dynamic in that episode and you being so vulnerable and about your past, especially your 9-year relationship, like that for our listeners hits different too, because you made the mistake of, you know, that relationship, your on and off again relationship. And for our listeners, that if they hear things like that, they're going to look out for those red flags and they're going to be aware of, you know, where those red flags can lead to. And I guess one of my first questions is, what are red flags in a person that automatically show like you should not even show up to that first date or you should not continue this dating?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think red flags differ from person to person. Like, you know, with this dating app culture, you could be like, a red flag is he eats at this restaurant or he does this activity or he golfs all day or like whatever it is. But I think when you're looking at relationships, and I think the biggest thing I've learned is to really look at the way the person you're interested in interacts with other people and the people the closest to them. And I say that because, yes, I was in a 9-year on and off toxic relationship that Jasmine had just mentioned throughout my 20s. And being on the other side of that, the warning signs were always there. But I kind of shuffled those away and put them away. But one of the biggest things that I noticed was the dynamic between him and his family. And I think when you're looking at a partner and someone you want to spend a lot of time with, maybe the rest of your life with, you really want to dig deep into the relationships they have with people in their family and how they work, because what they learned when they're younger, good or bad, is going to impact the ways in which they start relationships with other people and how they're going to treat you. So if they're not great to their mom, or, you know, they don't talk to their siblings, or they're not close with anybody, like, yes, everyone has their own story. Everyone has their own crap. family dynamics are weird, but for them to kind of be at a point in time, in a certain point in their age where they're still harboring these feelings and emotions about things that are kind of insignificant, I always feel like that's a telltale sign. Same with their friendships. I think with my relationship, as it got more toxic, it also got a lot more isolating because that person was also isolating. They were isolating me, but also like themselves from their friendships and people in their life. And so that obviously is a whole other issue. But I think really honing in on someone's character, their relationships, the way they interact with people is huge. And that should be your decision maker, whether or not you can see a future with them.
Wow. That is so true. Thank you, first of all, for being so vulnerable here and to our listeners, because that is very important. But that's huge. Like, especially even if you're on like a first date with somebody and they're treating like a waiter bad, like that's the example my friends always use. Like, that's like an automatic get me out of here right now. But then you start, if you know they're good to people outside their friends and family, and then you start to really get close with them, start to meet their friends and family and everything, and then that happens, it's like, do I leave? I really like this person. Should I stay? Maybe it's, you know, just that family dynamic and stuff like that. So that is huge. So thank you for that. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I just want to know, I didn't believe you were in your 30s when we first met. Like, what? You definitely do not look like you're in your 30s. That's
Well,
like not even a lie. Like, our listeners are probably like, what the heck?
30s are not the end of you will not look 60, I promise. You will not. The guys might look a little old, but I feel like as women, and I mean, I look at pictures of like in college, like I had like no eyebrows, like the whole thing, like you learn how to glow up. Like you learn how to do your hair, do your makeup, like, and you also like, you practice more self-care. Like I look back at like high school and college and I'm like, how did I survive? Like I didn't, but you think like you have to, there's so much pressure to go out every weekend and be social. And now I'm like, oh, I'll stay in the weekend and I'll, you know, binge Netflix and like, that's self-care. So yeah, you get better. Women, like, 30s is your time. Men, your metabolism hits, all those beers you were crushing in college, like, it all hits you. So invest in yourself now.
Yes. And kind of going off of that, do you think the saying, if you can't love yourself, how in the hell is somebody else, you're going to love somebody else? Do you think that is true? And have you experienced that in your dating life?
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty profound what you said right there. I think self-love is key. I think if you don't, you know, you get one life and you want to make the most out of it. So if you don't buy into yourself and love yourself, it's really hard for you to love other people and see and to understand your self-worth. So yeah, I keep going back to that. You know, I've had other relationships, but that relationship that I was in for so long, you know, definitely took its toll on me and it impacted my confidence and the way I saw myself. This person was, you know, a serial cheater as well. And so when somebody does something like that to you, betrays your trust in that way, you know, you're always looking at yourself. It's something that I have done, that I'm not good enough. And so there's a lot of that. And it takes, I think a lot of the perception of toxic relationships is that it's physical violence or things like that. But there's also this other phase of manipulation and other sort of abuses that happen. And when you get out of that, and I suggest both men and women that are listening to step out of that and take a moment to breathe. And when you look back, you kind of identify like, oh, wow, like that was really bad. But I also was in a place where I didn't really value myself either. And so what I thought was love and being in love with someone was not. It was my way of like aligning myself with what I thought love was and to try to be loved because I wasn't in a position where I really loved myself at that point. So yeah, I think sometimes even if you're in these long-term relationships and you find yourself like sacrificing a lot and not putting yourself first, like you should take that step back and and say like, wait a minute, what am I doing for me? It's not selfish by any means to kind of like evaluate and put yourself first. You always should, because, you know, tomorrow's never promised, one, and two, things can change significantly. You could get fired from your job tomorrow. Things in your family life could change. Things happen. And so you want to set yourself up for success by investing and taking care of you.
Yeah, absolutely. And with that, sometimes I feel like you see that people are so comfortable with somebody that they just stay in a relationship to stay comfortable, and because they don't want to get out of it. You know, this is what they know. They might not love themselves, but the other person is giving them some sort of attention to make them stay. What is your advice to people that are just staying in a relationship because they're comfortable, even though they know low key they want to get out?
Yeah, I think, you know, a best temperature check is to ask the people around you what they think. I think sometimes, you know, they're also, when you're in sort of weird situations, you get that like us against the world type of thought process in your head. But the good people in your life, the good friends, the good family are going to give it to you straight. And that's what you need. You need an outside looking in. If you're like, what do you think of our dynamic? What do you think of our relationship? Your friend's going to say like, I never see you because you're always doing this for that person, or you've lost your confidence, or you used to be so fun, you used to be so social. And sometimes you need that. You need people to put you in check.
Yep.
You know, I think there's also like, in relationships, like, of course, there's the other side where you're like, I don't get butterflies anymore. I'm not excited. And like that happens when, you know, Jasmine, you've been in a long-term relationship. Like not everything's going to be lovey-dovey. Things are going to be hard. But if the times are continually hard and you're struggling with it, it's time to take a step back and reevaluate. And like I said, talk to other people and see what they think.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's like this episode is very full circle for me, because literally 5 years ago today, I was dumped.
Today,
5 years
happy
ago.
anniversary, girl.
I was just like,
things to remember.
Yeah, right. It's great. I was on Facebook and I put a status like, if I wasn't so moody, then I wouldn't be so heartbroken right now. And I was like, ew, who let me post that? Like, come on, you're literally
be like, take that down.
Yeah, like, girl, you're literally 15. Like, can you please just settle it? Like, and you see all these comments with all my friends and family. They're like, he wasn't the one anyways. But I'm just like, I was 15. Like, that's crazy. And then like a year later, I was like, okay, I'm set. Thanks.
Yeah.
I'm set. I'm good. And it's just so funny how like full circle it really is crazy.
Totally.
So over the years, how do you think that just dating in general has changed from when you were 20 to now?
Whew.
Loaded question.
Oh, but it has changed, let me tell you. I think the first thing is, and I think everyone can agree with this, like there's no more mystery. None of that, because you know, and all your friends do it the minute, you know, you meet somebody, whether it's in person or online or through Instagram, whatever it is, you're Googling that person.
Yep.
You're looking up their social media. By the end of the night, you're going to know their aunt, their pets, like when they were in a relationship last, you're going to know everything. And so when you get to that point of the date, like you can pretend all you want, like, oh, where are you from? Where'd you grow up? And in the back of your head, you're like, this is your hometown. These are the sports you played. You know, this is the girl you went to homecoming with. So I think that element of like surprise and mystery is like immediately taken out on the date, and you're already honing in on like how they're handling the date, how they're carrying themselves, and all of that. So I think for sure, like the whole meeting at a bar and like hitting it off, and you know, all of those like riding off into the sunset together are just very few and far between.
Yep.
But what we talked about a lot, Jasmine, on my episode was dating apps. And that is real. It's as much as it, like, I've had people come on podcasts where it's like, oh, I don't want to tell anybody that we met on Tinder because it's like gross. But that's what everyone's doing. That's the way you get access to people.
Yeah.
I think it's good and bad because one, like, it's good because it opens you up to a pool of people you may have never crossed paths with before, ever. Especially when you're not, you're in your 30s, you're not going out as much anymore. So it's like, how do you meet people? But then on the other side, you're setting yourself up for like the dynamics of dating apps where it's like the ghosting and the conversations that don't go anywhere, or like, you say one wrong thing over text and then, they unmatch you. And, the reality is, when you're dating people in the wild in person, they may be dating you and maybe one other person, like they're going on dates. But with dating apps, you can be one of 10 that they're talking to and you really don't know. So, I think it's changed significantly. And it's a numbers game, like, and it sucks because, like, you're competing against, 7 other swipe rights, and you got to be on and you got to make it work over text and message and in person. And if not, like, in their head, there's somebody better out there and they're on to the next.
Yeah. It's absolutely wild how it works. Like,
so wild.
So crazy. And how do you think that people in their 20s versus people in their 30s use dating apps? Like, what is the difference?
Yeah, well, you definitely clued me in a little bit on this, but I feel like people my age, maybe not so much guys that are 30. I think that they, you're still going to have people that are in hookup mode, but I feel at least for the women that are in this age bracket, I mean, the ones that are single may or may not want to like get married tomorrow, which is like, I think guys need to realize that, like, no one's rushing down the aisle. Relax. Like, if you meet a cool girl and like, you're scared to hit it, like, let it play out.
Yeah.
But I think, women are looking, they're past the point of hooking up, especially if they're on a dating app that isn't Tinder, which is primarily for hooking up. And so they're looking for quality. So when, she's conversing with a guy and trying to have a conversation, like, she really is looking for something that could eventually evolve. And that's why she's like testing the waters and seeing how it is, where I think, people that are 10 years younger are just, they're looking to hook up. It's so easy to find somebody. You turn on that location. I mean, I would do this, I think, right when I got on dating apps, like, ooh, I'm on vacation. Who's hot in this area? And same with like college kids. You're visiting your friends on another campus and you're like, I don't know anybody here, what's around. It's just that access, that easy access. And I think you both know at the end of the day, I think if you're in your 20s, early 20s, like, that the other person's not there to find the love of their life. Not normally. They're there to just hook up. Yeah. So there's a general understanding there. Where 30s, it's kind of like and or. You gotta let it see it through. So I think those are the two biggest differences between the age groups.
Yes. And how, like, has hookup culture always been a part of that, like it's like a subculture of college?
Oh yeah. I don't know if you experience it now, but I feel like, I think, college parties and also college is just a different time. Think, you go back to high school and you think of like the people you went to high school with that you no longer talk to, but the dynamics of that, like, sometimes you've been with the same people since like first grade. Yeah. And so when you break out of that and you're exposed to so many people, you're like, all right, I can be whoever I want to be. I can meet whoever I want. I can do whatever I want. So there's some freedom in that. And there's nothing wrong with that. I think it's good to kind of let loose a little bit, obviously safely. And especially as women, I mean, women don't talk about sex. They're shamed, in regards to hookup culture, women are shamed all the time. Yep. And men are, crowned and are like, oh my gosh, you hooked up with this and that. But I think that there's a liberation.
Don't get me started.
That's like a whole other podcast episode. Yes. But there's a liberation in that. And I fully, I mean, again, doing it safely in a way that's respecting yourself, but experience other people. in a time that works for you, because a lot of times what I've seen, and I have a lot of friends that got married in their 20s and are either divorcing now, and they have children, or they have a lot of regret because they didn't have that time. And it's not to like get wild and slut it up, as you could say, but like didn't have that time to really like figure out other people and see what other people were like. And they were really locked in to this sort of like ideal. And now they're 34, divorced with kids, and they're on Bumble trying to find what's next.
Yep. It's, again, wild.
It's the Wild Wild West. That's it. Everywhere. If you're single, it's the Wild Wild West.
Have you ever listened to the podcast Call Her Daddy?
I have, yes.
Do you think that it's, you know, it is like a huge part of why women are like pretty comfortable with the whole hookup culture? Or, you know, do you think the values that it teaches are valid? Because I mean, I love that podcast. It's a great one because I think it gives a voice to women like Miley Cyrus and like
Holly Madison.
Yes, Holly Madison.
Yeah.
Exactly. And like all those women that have been slut shamed their whole lives. But the men behind all of those stories are, again, crowned.
Yeah.
Some people have very mixed reviews about it. What is your opinion on it? And do you listen to it often?
Great question. So I didn't listen to it in the early days when there was like 2 hosts.
Yeah.
I actually didn't even know what the heck it was until they broke up.
Yes.
And then I was like, what is Call Your Dad? Like, what? what? So I've listened to episodes here and there, depending on the topic. I think Alex, the host, she's really brave for putting all that out there. I think that is something, again, you don't see women doing, is talking about sex in such a way that's like so in your face. And she doesn't apologize for it. So for me personally, I don't think I would be as forthcoming nor do I think like my sexual life has ever been as exciting as hers. I mean, if I had like a list of athletes, I'd be like, whoa. But I think, you know, when I've had other women on my podcast talk about that podcast and have said it's liberating to talk about, you know, masturbation and that, you know, having sex with multiple people and the things that you like and the things that you don't, because I think we can all agree as women, when we're growing up, you're kind of shamed to even talk about that stuff. You're embarrassed to talk about it. You talk about it in groups with your friends. And it's a really big deal when you engage in any sort of sexual activity with a partner. And you know, everyone's going to have opinions about it. And so you hide a lot of it. So same with this, like we talk about this hookup culture in college. I'm sure guys are, you know, much more open about conquests, and women aren't, because they just don't want to be seen that way. So I think that's important. I think it's great to have that message out there and that exposure, and an outlet for people to just hear other women talk about that stuff, because it doesn't happen enough. And especially on Barstool, which is just infiltrated with men, and their podcasts are, you know, talking about sex and all that other stuff. And, you know, they used to rate women. They used to have Smoke Show of the Week when I was in college. You just see girls that I went to college with on there in bikinis. So it's kind of nice to flip the script and have a woman kind of divulge all of her stuff.
Yes, I would kill to be on there because I'm just the complete opposite of her.
Yeah.
But I think she's great at, like, constantly it's the slander. People call it internalized misogyny, but I really think it is helping women in their 20s and even in their 30s feel more confident about, you know, if he's not good enough, then bye. Like, if he's not giving you what you want and you should know what you want, then you should leave him. Like, it's that type of motivation that I think is like really bringing some confidence into like our generations. I think it's awesome.
Yeah.
But I also think, like, I don't know if it also is getting like women excited to go to college, or like getting them afraid of commitment? Like that's the thing too. Do you think that young people are afraid of commitment when they go into college?
Yes and no. I think,
Mhm.
there's plenty of people that meet in college and fall in love and get married. Just look at your college alumni magazine. I mean, that's like the thing.
Yeah.
But I think there's also that perception, and if you think about Call Her Daddy and like having fun and like having those experiences and meeting a lot of people. And I think also, yeah, like the fear of commitment is like you don't want to be locked down because you want to, have your time and have fun. I think in college you're like, I only have 4 years to like do my own thing and not
Yeah.
have a ton of responsibilities, because pretty soon you're in that 9 to 5, and the friends that you have and the parties that you're going to, that ends. Like it's few and far between. And so, yeah, I mean, I think it's different strokes. You find what works for you, and people shouldn't shy away from either.
Mhm.
Lock it in and have a great, wonderful relationship with someone that treats you well, that enriches your life. Like, absolutely. But if you're just like, you know what, I kissed one person in high school and I'm ready to broaden my horizons, again, safely
Go
do it,
off.
but like live it up. Live it
Yes.
up. And then you won't have to see them again like
Yeah.
after 4 years,
Exactly. And we also had an entire healthy relationships episode. And it's actually our most popular episode. So the fact that you have like a podcast around like dating life and single life and relationships and having guests on is like so cool in itself. But what are some of the habits to maintaining a healthy relationship that you've seen within your friends and your guests that have come on the podcast?
Yeah. I think from both experience and feedback from what people have said is really, in your partner is like having someone to stand beside you.
Mm-hmm.
And we're seeing this a lot with women, is this shift of like, and I think it's at really any age, maybe like college and beyond, is
Mm-hmm.
like, so there's always like the woman behind the man, right? Like, oh, she's great, she's strong, but she's behind him, she's supporting him. And we're seeing this shift of women being like, no, like I'm successful, I'm doing well, I flourish, I don't need to lean on anybody. So in a partner, I need someone to be there with me and we're moving together.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think in a healthy relationship, that's huge, is to have a counterpart that's not only supportive, and it's a two-way support system, but you're also pushing each other to be better, whether that's in a career or, something involving like a financial gain or like wanting to become a parent, things like that. I hear that more and more, is like, I don't need anyone behind me. I want someone to meet me there and keep
Yes.
going. So I think that's huge. I think also, on the flip side of what I said before, which are the red flags, is to also have that great support system outside of that relationship and making sure that your partner supports that. Because
Mm-hmm.
when you're in a relationship with someone for a long time, you need an outlet to, whether it's to complain about them or just enjoy life outside of the one-to-one with that person. And so one of my best friends, she's been married to her husband for quite a while now, and they have 2 children, and her husband is probably one of my best male friends, even though
Aww.
she's my best friend from
Yeah.
college. And so like that sort of dynamic, I think, is so huge when you have that part. Like, I don't know if you've ever dated somebody that's like antisocial and like maybe a little weird, and like you'll bring them to like family parties or out, and they just like, they don't socialize, and then you're like, this ruins my time, kind of, because they're like not, and I think that can break down a relationship too. So I think a lot of that goes into like being able to bring them around your support system and them, fit in, so to speak, and to work the room or whatever to kind of be part of that, I think is healthy. Because if they hate your family or you hate their family, everyone jokes about in-laws and whatever, like, ugh, that's just a recipe for disaster. As you get, to getting married, having kids, the whole thing, that like, it's just not going to work, or it's not going to be healthy for the both of you.
Have you seen that in some of your friends, like that they have like terrible in-laws and vice versa?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like everyone complains about their in-laws, even if it's just they have great in-laws, because, you know, everyone has an opinion. You know, once people start having children, adding them to the mix, you know, grandparents want to be a part of so many things. So yeah, but you know, there's definitely a breakdown. I know people that say the only issues I have in my relationship are the issues that we fight about in regards to their family. And so sometimes that's, you know, that's really difficult to navigate, and being able to have those conversations, because you also put your partner in a weird spot too. You know, that's their family forever. And, you know, to not isolate people from their family, but you want to make your family work, it's a lot. So yeah, I think all around you got to be happy in what's going on with you, and kind of make sure that like everyone around you you're in a good place with.
Yeah, absolutely. That's huge. I think before, you know, you get into a relationship with someone, it's again looking at the way they interact with their family too.
Yeah.
And it's all about, you know, how you treat them as well, because that's their family forever. So
Exactly.
especially if they're very close. Like my family is very, very close. So huge, very big. And kind of going back into like the single life, what has been, or what is your most recent like single woman story, like you the craziest, if you have one?
Great. Of being a single woman.
Yeah. I know you mentioned the kind of in your last episode, the double ghosting thing.
Oh yeah.
That you could just hear the pissed in your voice, and I was like, I don't know how she does it. Like I don't know how you do it.
Yeah, I think the dating stories, they can get really crazy, again, just because of what dating culture is today. Yeah, the story you're referring to is 2 weekends in a row, I was ghosted by 2 different guys. And this is like a common theme. So if any dating app listeners are like leaning in, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You know, you make plans, and we all did this with our friends too, but you make plans earlier in the week with a person, and then you know, they'll be like, how about we hang out Saturday? And you're like, cool. So as a female, you're like, my Saturday's booked. I'm gonna get I gotta get my crap together, where it's like, you know, make sure my hair is washed, my eyebrows are threaded, the whole thing. Because with women and dating, especially when you're kind of in your 30s, you know, it's a whole thing. You want to sell the whole package, because it's a huge confidence boost. You know, we want to say like they want to like us for us, but it's also like how you look and how you carry yourself, and if you hit it off. So it's a whole thing. So this happened, made plans with a guy, but it was interesting because we never set like the exact time or location, which was kind of, with both of them, that was like kind of on them. And so, you know, the weekend came, nothing. And then guy number 1 texted me on Monday, like, hey, how's your weekend? And I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, did you really I would just prefer me straight up ghosted. Like, if you just like fell off the face of the earth, like fine, but like don't come back like, what up? Like like it's not smooth. And I will say, so I'm gonna get to like the lesson of this, but then the following week, this other guy was like, you pick the place. No, you pick the day, I'll pick the place. And I was like, hell yeah, like so slick, to the point, love it. I picked the day and was waiting for him to pick the place. Weekend came, nothing. And so, you know, as women, we want to keep people accountable, and like that's really crappy. Like to do that to people, the ghosting culture is just trash. But for me, it also put me in a weird position, because this is a lesson that I'm gonna, for all of us, for everyone. You know, I think we make a lot of excuses. Women especially do for men, especially when we're dating, that we're like, oh, he hasn't texted because he's really busy, or like, oh, you know, it's a nice weekend this weekend, so like that's why he didn't get back to me about the date. And it's like, no. Think about how many times your phone is by your side. Pretty much 90% of us sleep with it on our nightstand. Like, it's just inexcusable. And I'm not saying this to be like, this is like things don't happen, but like you have to get to the point, and I've gotten to this point being single for quite a bit now and dating, is if someone wants to pursue, they will.
Yeah.
If they like you, if they think you're worth it and worth their time, they will. And that sucks to know that when it doesn't come to fruition for you, but it also is a good lesson to carry with you that they're not worth your time because they're not making any investment.
Yeah.
So for me, in those moments where I was ghosted, I could have been like, you know what? I'm going to text them on Saturday and be like, where are you? But then I was like, you know what? No, because this guy clearly, both of them were doing better things. So in that moment, I wanted to have more self-respect instead of them saying like, which one of the guys did admit, he was like, I was day drinking all day, or I was doing something fun with my friends, because I want to be like, you know what? No, I'm doing something way cooler too. And like, I'm not even thinking about you. Like, this is your loss. So I think all of that, like single women stories, yeah, like dating stories are hard, but all of this, all those experiences has really taught me to your point, that self-love, that self-worth, and knowing that like, you know what, there is a big dating pool out there, and you don't have to chase anybody. You don't have to fall in love with their potential, because that's what it is, possible potential. They need to show you through their actions. And that's how you value yourself and your time in this dating process.
Work. Poetry.
Boom, boom, boom.
That is awesome. I love it. And I hope everyone was taking notes during that, because you need it. You're going to need it. That is amazing. And going off of ghosting and how terrible men and women can be, we're going to do a little segment. If you're comfortable.
Let's do it.
We are back with a new segment called Cheater Cheater. Kristin is going to tell us whether or not she thinks it's cheating or not, and why. So here we go. First of all, a lot of these questions came from a popular TikTok sound that I think these questions are not very, some of them graze the line. So we're going to see, what we think of each of them. So the first one, do you think it's cheating if your partner texts someone and hides it from you?
It's just if we're saying it's cheating.
I know. This is like hard.
I think if they're hiding that, then they have something to hide. So I would say it could lead to cheating.
Yes.
You know what? I would think, I'll just say, just to answer, I would say, yeah, I would think it's cheating because they're hiding it from me.
Yes, me too. I agree.
Trying to be cool and not say cheating to guess everything.
Hey, it is a-okay if you do, because some of these are wild. Like this next one. Do you think it's cheating if your partner is swiping on dating apps but is not actually talking to anyone?
Oh my God. Get your ass off a dating app. Yes. Yes. This is happening in real time, by the way. My friend is like in love with this guy and he doesn't love her back, but he's in a relationship now, but she's seen him on the dating apps all the time. So yes, cheating. No, ma'am. You would be, if I saw that, you'd be dead.
Gone. Absolutely not happening.
Yep.
Perfect. Cheating. Agreed. Do you think it's cheating if your partner is texting someone they met on a dating app but is not actually on the dating app anymore?
Cheating. Oh my God. I mean,
why are you texting that person? Like what?
Right, that you met like to date, like you didn't meet them platonically, like you didn't meet them, like you met them in a spot where you were looking to hook up or take them out, like to have some sort of connection that's outside of like, hey, I met this really cool person.
Yeah, we're just friends type of thing. Yeah. Agreed. Perfect.
Okay, good.
Do you think it's cheating if your partner kisses someone else? Abso-freaking-lutely.
Do I even have to answer? Imagine Imagine your significant other being like, I kissed someone, or like they wouldn't tell you. But if someone was like, I saw your boyfriend kissing someone, I'd be like, okay, yeah, they're done.
Yeah, 3 tires slashed, no insurance for you, buddy. Like, goodbye.
And kissing is intimate.
Yeah.
Not saying the other stuff isn't, but I feel like when you go to kiss somebody, like there's feeling behind that.
1000%.
You know?
Yeah. Like I feel like it's different if you're like at a club and this girl like grabs your face like and you like push her away, like but your like lips touch, like that's different. But if you intentionally kiss someone or you're like standing there for more than a second kissing someone, like what? I cannot. Yes, that's cheating. You're gone. Yeah. Bye. Do you think it's cheating if your partner is subscribed to someone's OnlyFans?
Ooh. Does it depend on the body part? Like if it's a foot fetish?
It's so hard. Because
it's so hard.
I feel like porn is not cheating, but if you're subscribed to somebody's OnlyFans, like you're spending money on them, like.
Yeah, I mean, it's one thing if you're like on Pornhub, like watching videos for free of people that's the other thing too.
True.
It's like people that you don't know versus that you know that are accessible. Like we all have our little like celebrity crushes that we would be like, oh yeah, that's my hall pass. But like when it's the girl like that lives in the apartment next door, like.
Oh, hell no.
Yeah, like, so, yeah, if it's the girl next door and she's got an OnlyFans, no, that's cheating. I don't care if it's our foot pictures or, like, whatever.
Doesn't matter. Yep.
No.
Agreed. Perfect, yes. Mm-hmm. Do you think it's cheating if your partner goes to a strip club?
As long as they don't go in the champagne room or get, any inappropriate massages, I'm cool with it.
Perfect. I agree 1000%. Because you see especially on TikTok, you see these like, if you go to a strip club during your bachelor party, there's no wedding. And I'm like, what? No, like that's not a thing. If they have good people around them and you trust the people around them, then they're not gonna let your fiance cheat on you. Like.
And yeah, if he's going to a strip club, then you go to Chippendales or you do the same thing and see
exactly.
how he feels about it. I cannot sell this enough. I went to the Magic Mike show. I was supposed to be there for a work conference in Vegas for like 72 hours. I want to see the Backstreet Boys, but they were not playing that night. So I went to the Magic Mike show. Unbelievable. It's like, it's not even like, they don't get like naked. It's so classy, but the dancing is phenomenal. So like, do the same. And then if he's like, oh, I have a problem with that, be like, well, you're like seeing like girls like boobs bouncing in your face. Like, trade off. Eye for an eye. That's how I roll.
Love it. And I don't know why I put this as the last one. I gotta think of one more because this can't be the last one. Do you think it's cheating if your partner has someone that they call their work spouse? That's huge. I feel like I would not care, but people get heated, like dumb heated, like, so it's hard.
But you know what? If they're telling that to you, then I feel like it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think if they were feeling a certain type of way, if they were feeling romantic, like it's gonna piss you off either way. If they're like, oh my God, my work life is so funny. But if you're like, if they're telling you like, this is like, my friend at work, like we're going through the same crap together, and they're open about it, then yeah, like you keep an eye on it maybe, but like,
yeah,
if they're being upfront, like I think you have to give people credit when they're being upfront and honest with you about the stuff. I think it's the shady stuff that definitely like perks up your ears that you're like, ooh,
yes,
wait a second.
Yes, absolutely. And this is not so much like a cheating, no cheating type of thing, but what do you think about girl best friends?
Oh, for guys.
Yeah. You're like, wait.
I love how I just said that, for guys. I don't know. I think I think in your 20s, it's annoying. I think it's so annoying. I think in your 30s, it's different because I don't think that if they've been friends forever, like they're not going to hook up by the time they're 30 because they already would have done it unless he's been married and she's just been sitting there waiting. But I think, again, I like to see guys kind of have relationships with women because I think that shows that they are going to treat you well. And then you also have that like lifeline when he's being a complete douchebag to be like, why is he acting like this? And you have like first of all, there's nothing better than being friends with your boyfriend's friends because you need somebody get in their ear and be like, you're an idiot. And there's no one better than to have their girl best friend that you can be friends with to be like, oh my God, you need to like get your act together. And he'll listen to her. Yes.
Like, I don't know a lot. Like, I know all my friends and all over my For You page and all over social media, people hate the girl best friend, but I am the girl best friend.
Yeah.
I hate that because I am not, well, clearly I'm not that type of girl best friend, the one that everyone's scared of because I'm in a relationship. And it's like, you can't be scared to like, I don't know, like, how are you going to be scared of someone that's not going to make even the sort of like any sort of move? Like, it's like,
yeah, but that's the big insecurity piece. Like, again, when you're not all women, but when you're younger, you're super insecure. And I think that's what breaks up a lot of relationships too, is when you're insecure about yourself and you're insecure about your relationship, you know, it's not going to go well for you. You have to be secure enough with yourself and your relationship, because the thing is, at the end of the day, if that guy's going to step out on you and sleep with his best friend, he's going to do it.
Yeah.
So if he's
not
doing it,
and he was trash in the first place.
And then that's it. So it's like, be secure enough in your relationship to know that they're good. And if it happens, then just, that's it. And you were right and you were validated. But that's going to be going to him and being like, I don't like that you have a girl best friend. Like, good luck, because that's going to change the dynamic of everything going forward.
Yes. Embarrassing. Very embarrassing. It's
like so controlling, like way to drive someone away.
Yeah.
You know?
Exactly. It is not cute. It's really not.
No.
Like, it's not. Well, those are all my questions. I don't know if you want to add anything else, any last minute advice before we end.
I mean, here I am as a single woman, so I have no love life advice to give in that aspect. But I would just say, you know, to anyone, both men and women that are listening, I know that you have a lot of people around your age that listen. You know, there's nothing wrong with like stepping out of the box and not folding into what everyone thinks you should be doing and where you should be. Life is different for everybody. And if you get married tomorrow and you have 7 kids and that's your journey, awesome. If you want to be single for a bit and figure out who you are and travel and move up in life, not to say if you get married and kids, you can't have a flourishing career. You absolutely can. But if there's other things that you want to prioritize, that's fine too. Like, live for yourself and just like get rid of the noise, because if you have more and more people influencing you and trying to tell you how you should live your life, like, you're going to be really miserable. And I think that took a lot of time for me to be like, when I was your age, Jasmine, I was like 30. Oh my God, I'm going to be like a VP of a company and I'll probably be married. Maybe I'll have kids. I don't know. And I'll have a giant house. And now I have some good things, but you know, it's not exactly that picture. So I think give yourself a little bit more credit and celebrate kind of the smaller milestones, and, you know, things will pan out the way that they're supposed to when they're supposed to happen. And take that pressure off yourself. I think there's too many things in life that you miss out on because you're worried about what people are going to think about you, how you're going to look. And, you know, that's just a shitty way to approach things. Like, just live every day to your best. That's all you got to do.
Yes. I love it. Sorry.
And wear sunscreen because I am bright red.
Love it. The best advice. Yes. Thank you so much, Kristin, for coming on. I had the best time, best conversation, and all of our listeners are going to be taking so much away from all of your advice and stories, and I just appreciate you so much.
Thank you, Jasmine, and thank you for doing this podcast. I wish I had something like this when I was your age to kind of again, hear from other people and be like, they don't know this either. I need to, this is so great to have a platform. So kudos to you.
Thank you.
Keep killing it in all ways. You're doing amazing.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Oh, thanks.
I hope you all enjoyed today's podcast as much as I did, as usual. Episode 29. Boom. Already done and gone. I can't believe it. Kristin, thank you so much for coming on again. You are absolutely amazing. Such an amazing role model, and thank you so much for your kind words about our podcast. And if you guys want to leave some kind words about our podcast as well, please give us a review. I would absolutely love it. That would be amazing. And I know I didn't say it in episode 28 because I always forget sometimes, but if you want to follow us on our social medias, it is all at the adult algorithm except for Twitter. It's adult_algorithm. As I'm falling asleep here, we are going to wrap up today's episode. We're going to wrap up the double podcast upload of the week, I guess. And we're going to wrap up the no sugarcoating topic. It has been awesome. As you know, no sugarcoating is part of our brand because that's what adulting is all about. And I've had such an amazing month, and I'm so excited for next month. And instead of announcing it on the podcast, we're going to be announcing it on our Instagram and our TikTok. So go take a look at that. We've been uploading some reels for you guys, and we're going to be uploading some adulting tips pretty often, and I'm really excited for what June will bring us. So as usual, I will see you all next week to help you grow into your potential. This is Jasmine with the Adult Algorithm signing off. Bye.